Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, the real problem child sequel that started to spiral this franchise into being a chaotically stupid dumpster fire. In this retrospective devoid of logic, let's explore how this movie has aged in terms of writing, while having some fun dissecting its many problems. So, a few years pass, and the volcano on Isla Nublar is on the brink of erupting, thus threatening the dinosaurs with another extinction-level event. Besides the Mosasaurus, who was released in the opening and is now vibing out in the open ocean. This spurs some worldwide discussions of people being upset about dinosaurs going extinct again, and whether or not the government should intervene. But a big contradiction here is, there are other islands that contain dinosaurs in this world, specifically Isla Sorna from Lost World and Ile Saint-Hubert from Rebirth. To be fair on the writers, the latter island was probably cooked up conceptually after the Jurassic World trilogy. However, Isla Sorna has been featured in 2 movies now. This plot point of dinosaurs going extinct is moot because there's an entire island that acts as a nature reserve for dinosaurs. This was one of John Hammond's final wishes in the second Jurassic Park film, and was basically the whole point of that film. This utterly undercuts the emotional anchor and stakes for the film. Every time a character wallows about the dinosaurs going extinct, you always think back to that island existing. So it seems like the writers are kind of just hoping the audience forgets about that island so that the stakes of the narrative can remain high. Claire gets contacted by Benjamin Lockwood, John Hammond's scientific partner who has apparently been there since the beginning. I'll just have to take the writer's word on that because he's never been mentioned prior. Benjamin Lockwood is ill, so Eli Mills is running everything for him. He comes to Claire needing her help to access the tracking system on Isla Nublar to locate select dinosaurs, and they'll transport them to a new island.
A sanctuary, protected by natural barriers, fully self-sustaining, a new home where the dinosaurs will be secure and free.
If only there was another island that's already inhabited by dinosaurs. This is like Mr. Beast giving away islands, but in the Jurassic World franchise. So, since Isla Sorna was such a big plot hole, I started to do some digging, and according to 2 sources of information that are external to the movies, by the way, explain what happened on that island. One is the marketing team making Masrani a fake website, and I had no idea this existed, but Claire has a book on her called The Evolution of Claire. If you really loved her character, then I guess you can read the book. Between these 2 sources, we learned that Masrani bought Isla Sorna and exported some dinosaurs off of that island to Isla Nublar, where Jurassic World was. Additionally, the Spinosaurus was classified as being invasive and killed a lot of dinosaurs. However, as to whether the island is completely barren of dinosaurs is unknown, and is most likely improbable, and the T-Rexes in Dominion originated from Isla Sorna. So, I guess the writers are aware of that island? Who fucking knows? Let's just label this as a plot hole and move on because my brain is bricking out. The writers don't even give us the courtesy of simply addressing it via dialogue, and I'm also choosing to ignore what Jurassic World Rebirth sets up later. Claire goes to Owen Grady because Eli needs him to rescue Blue. She finds him building his own house out in the middle of the forest, and this just feels like the beginnings of a Budweiser ad. It's the most stereotypical image of what a strong, independent man is, to the point that it feels like a parody. He initially refuses her offer because it's basically a suicide mission, and Claire fails to disclose that she's packing some reinforced plot armor. Owen ends up changing his mind after watching some Baby Blue videos, which I feel like the only reason why Owen initially refuses is so that we, the audience, get to see these videos. With that, we're off to Isla Nublar, and they're joined by Zia, a paleo vet, and Justin, a vague tech boyo.
Oh God, it's hot! It's about to get a whole lot hotter.
Who wrote this? The script is playing like a parody so far. It's about to get a whole lot hotter. After a brief nostalgia pit stop, our characters get to a control room and unlock the tracking data for all the dinosaurs. How all of this technological equipment still works with all its surroundings dilapidating is a mystery, and thankfully, everything miraculously works for the plot to function. Degradation doesn't exist in the Jurassic World franchise. The head mercenary says here that they've already captured most of the dinosaurs, and with that piece of development, why didn't Eli come to Claire sooner? Would it have not been easier to capture all of these dinosaurs with their exact locations in mind? I feel like the main reason why the writers opt to do this is they don't want to spend an entire movie hunting down and saving dinosaurs. They want to quickly get to the mansion as soon as possible, and I'll talk more about this plot structure when we get to the end of Act 2. So really now, the only dinosaur they need to save is Blue.
If I don't make him back, remember, you're the one who made me come.
Owen tracks down Blue, and while on the cusp of befriending her, Wheatley, the head mercenary, doesn't wait for Owen's signal and preemptively shoots Blue with a sedative dart. It's kind of funny that we now have those after the entire debacle that transpired in Jurassic World. Would have been really nice to have these in that film, but I guess tasers and net guns were the only thing they could afford with their budget. Going back to Fallen Kingdom, this scene basically showcases that Wheatley and the goons are actually evil, but they still have the goal of capturing Blue. So sabotaging Owen's plan mid-execution inherently goes against their motivations to create a contrived scene of conflict, and because of this, one of the mercenaries gets pounced on. Why not double-cross Owen after they incapacitate Blue? Instead, Blue ends up getting injured by a pistol gunshot wound. Again, as I pointed out in my last Devoid of Logic, it's quite baffling wanting these dinosaurs so badly for military conflicts when they're not exactly immune to bullets. But opening up that wound would be going pretty off topic. Owen rushes Wheatley and he promptly tranquilizes him. Not sure what his objective was, given that he's surrounded by mercenaries, and I'll chalk it up to emotions clouding his judgment. Zia though, yeah, I don't know why she picks up a gun and threatens Wheatley. She has no power here to do so and can immediately be put down by all of the mercenaries.
I hate this red thing, I spit on you.
So she basically threatens them to take her with them so she can try to save Blue's life, which was pointless because they already needed her to do that. The volcano at this point coincidentally starts to explode, which is crazy timing. Not just in the sense that our characters have only been here for seemingly an hour or two, but this transpires at the exact moment when the antagonists double-cross the heroes. It's as if Mother Nature and the mercenaries coordinated this moment to happen together, a very apparent example of the writing being forced. Owen, due to him being the embodiment of peak male fantastical form, is able to override the strong sedative intended for dinosaurs that weigh tons, and wakes up 5 minutes after being shot. The writers try to pass this off as a dino licking Owen, waking him up, and that's just not how strong sedatives work. He should be out for 12 hours. But we can't have that. That means our hero would unceremoniously die to lava, so instead, he's only partially paralyzed and is fully cognizant as to what's happening. As to the aspect of lava and the island exploding, this is probably the dumbest aspect of the entire movie. There's a lot of crazy things to unpack in this scene, and the first one is simply, Owen should die to pure heat exposure, and he'd definitely be set on fire. When you're inches away from lava like this, the temperature would be so high that flammable substances would immediately catch fire. And another crazy thing here is, the entire floor is covered in fallen leaves. The lava at this point wouldn't be a problem, and there'd be a full-blown wildfire ravaging through the island before the slow-moving lava would even reach Owen. The fire would be spreading like gasoline across the floor. Then thirdly, the lava is parting around Owen as if he's motherfucking Moses. It's perfectly and conveniently enveloping him, just so much to the point that it barely isn't touching him. The creators must think this is a great point of tension when instead, it showcases how much they're bending the bounds of logic. Thankfully, there's a wooden log behind Owen that he climbs over to take cover behind. Phew, that was a close one. Good thing this flammable material isn't catching fire. Then outside of the lava, the sedative is pretty much entirely worn off at this point, after 10 to 20 minutes. I don't know if Owen has been injecting himself with this shit to build his tolerance, or is putting it in his protein shakes because this having almost no effect on him is absurd. Claire and Franklin get locked into this room by the mercenaries, and after doing some vague hacking TM, Franklin opens a door at the end of a tunnel that they can use to escape. However, there just coincidentally happened to be a dangerous dinosaur that was there at that exact moment of time, and walks through the door. We can't have our characters merely leave this room, we gotta throw a dinosaur into the mix for the sake of action, even though it doesn't make any sense. The dinosaurs fleeing from the lava are trying to get off the island, by the way. So, as the dinosaur enters the room, lava inexplicably starts slowly pouring through the roof, dividing the room in half, conveniently stopping the dinosaur from devouring them alive. Claire discovers a roof hatch with a ladder that I guess they didn't notice before, and they climb up the ladder and it suddenly extends down. To which, Franklin here would have most definitely died. But as per usual, dinosaurs in this franchise like to scream at their prey first before going in for the kill, giving our characters ample time to escape, and even in the shaft, the dinosaur is shown to be able to climb up the ladder and just barely not fast enough to eat Franklin. Upon getting outside, Owen just randomly happens to be running to their location, and at the same time they get out of their control room. Looking at the map from earlier, he'd have to run a pretty long distance on foot that moves parallel to the volcano, and if lava was overwhelming him here, it would be impossible to get back to Claire in time. Not to mention that he'd have to navigate perfectly without a map, there'd be a bunch of dinosaurs he'd have to contend with and avoid, and this would probably be mostly off trail, further delaying his track. All of this to say is, Owen basically teleports here so that all of our characters can be back together. Maybe that tranquilization dart was actually made out of adrenaline instead.
Grabbing heroin, adrenaline.
Our characters, of course, start running away and eventually run through this jungle. In this shot, the trees behind Franklin are getting trampled down by dinosaurs that are on his heels, and in the next shot, they teleport further behind him. And luckily, the cameraman tilts up just before the dinosaurs trample everyone, and the next time we go back to our characters, this devastating stampede disappears. The continuity of this scene is absolutely abysmal. It's just a constant contrived sense of tension that has to permeate in every moment, and all the while, it's completely weightless. As they're running down the mountain, there happens to be a gyrosphere by a log. Now, obviously, this is a very lucky coincidence in a sequence that has a dozen of them, but this gyrosphere technically shouldn't be here because in the last movie, all of the gyrospheres out in the park were recalled.
Are there any gyrospheres left in the valley?
No, they're all accounted for. It's my job.
They were in the process of shutting down the park, and every gyrosphere with guests in them were brought back to the facilities. Besides the one with Claire's nephews, of course, but that one is broken and wouldn't be in this location. So, I don't know why there's a random unaccounted gyrosphere out in the middle of nowhere. Obviously, it's here because the writers willed it into existence. While getting in, a Carnotaurus interrupts Owen, and before it eats him, a very sneaky T-Rex comes in to save the day. This moment essentially pays homage to the first movie, and Colin Trevorrow likes that moment so much that he keeps writing it into his trilogy. Even though it's pretty silly that no one hears or sees the T-Rex approaching from their peripheral vision. I don't know how such a big dinosaur can be this stealthy, and it seems like this is only done to have an epic shot for the trailer. During a prior altercation, Owen gets locked out of the gyrosphere, and Claire and Justin start rolling down the mountain. Of course, what are called lava bombs, which are the projectiles that shoot out of an erupting volcano, never strike the gyrosphere or Owen running outside. If lava doesn't affect our heroes, then the chances of them getting struck by a lava bomb are practically zero. Owen gets consumed by the smoke/ash cloud, and Claire and Justin dive off the cliff and into the water. It starts leaking in, and they realize that they're probably cooked. Or I should say, they're washed. Anyways, Owen obviously didn't die prior and shoots the glass that's underwater. If anyone remembers the first Jurassic World movie, then you'd recall the clear point of exposition where Jimmy Fallon demonstrates that the gyrosphere is made out of bulletproof glass. This is an egregious error that completely disregards what was set up in the last movie, let alone a gun firing bullets underwater, which drastically decreases the bullet velocity. In the end though, this doesn't really end up helping, only making the water leakage worse, and he instead opts to pry open the panel with his knife. I don't know if he'd have enough force to pry this open, but who knows. He's the peak male figure that drinks sedative juice for breakfast. Maybe he's also fueling his muscles with spinach like Popeye. So he pops it open and our characters swim to safety. Or it really shouldn't be safety since the entire island was on the precipice of exploding. It conveniently stops right at this shore so they can vibe on the beach. Also, this wide shot shows that there's a bunch of lava going into this alcove, which makes me think that the water here would be boiling them alive. But in the grand scheme of things, and how bad the writing has been, this really only seems like a nitpick in comparison. While sitting on the beach, some helicopters transport the dinosaurs they very recently brushed into, which just seems so random and out of nowhere. There were people out there to capture those? During the whole stampede, lava bombs flying everywhere, and while in the smoke cloud chaos? Comes across as the creators wanting the T-Rex to make an appearance here, but at the same time, we have to make sure it gets captured so it stays in the narrative and not realistically die. Also, wait a second, we're suddenly right next to the mercenaries' outpost? Seems rather convenient to place this here given the sheer size of the island. I think the writers realized that if they didn't end up remotely close to the base after the volcano erupted, then it would have been impossible to get back. Which is unfortunate because this completely mitigates the massive point of conflict of time pressure. All they have to do now is casually walk over. While scouting out the base for a while, Claire, Owen, and Justin come up with the brilliant plan of just sprinting into the boat and hoping it doesn't leave them there. Realizing that they're not going to make it in time, they full send a truck into the boat and just barely make it. A very puzzling aspect here is no one really noticing or acknowledging that this happened. This would undoubtedly draw a lot of attention, which would then promptly get them captured. This, however, would not allow the writers to execute the upcoming scenes, so you just have to accept this forced plot point. Once on board, everyone on the boat realizes that a poor dinosaur has been left behind, and honestly, I think this is easily the best moment from the entire film without contest. It's actually moving, it draws a lot of sympathy, the brachiosaurus' wailing is haunting, and the music really emphasizes the tragedy here. This makes me think this singular moment should have been the emotional crux of the film. Everything should lead to this gutting, somber event after an excruciating and dangerous campaign of saving as many dinosaurs as possible, which in of itself would be a really exciting movie, and not only saving one dinosaur on screen. It's just so rushed and all of this transpires in 30 minutes of screen time, making it feel like the movie ends here and starts again once we get to the mansion later, where there, it somehow gets even more stupid and evolves into a horror movie, which that type of scary Jurassic Park movie would be interesting, but keeping these two halves as their own separate fleshed out projects would have been better from a writing perspective, and not smashing them together in a weird incohesive fusion. Moving on from that topic, we go over to Eli convincing the black market auctioneer to sell his dinosaurs to shady figures and reveals that he's been cooking up the Indoraptor. Unfortunately, the writers insist on carrying over the plotline of using dinosaurs in war from Jurassic World, where it was obviously a batshit childish impractical fever dream in that movie. And I guess Eli isn't aware of the fact that the velociraptors turned on the people using them. The head honcho security guy died to one in the last movie. All of this should immediately make these dinosaurs worthless within the context of using them in a military. And even if the people bidding on the dinosaurs aren't aware of this, or if InGen covered this up, then the common person should not believe in the practicality of deploying dinosaurs. You'd need actionable proof of them working out in the field, not just, oh look, the dinosaur follows a laser. The writers are genuinely bringing this story down to a level where you have to be lobotomized to believe in any of this. Eli in this scene also argues that animals have always been used in war, like horses and elephants, when those were used centuries ago is quite a ridiculous argument. With this idiotic line of reasoning, you may as well just flood the battlefield with a bunch of lions. At least with that method, you wouldn't be dropping millions on each dinosaur. So Eli is casually arguing this topic while providing the weakest and most easily disputable examples. But let's nod our heads and listen along as if he's making complete sense. There's definitely a lot more wrong with the application of using dinosaurs in a war, but I've kind of already addressed that in my last video. Claire, Owen, and Justin sneak out of their truck and help Zia with Blue. And I guess no one checked their truck this entire time. Maybe someone did off screen and didn't recognize them. In this scene, Blue needs a blood transfusion, and the only dinosaur with a compatible blood type is the T-Rex. Along with the other dinosaurs, it's sedated, and Owen and Claire have to be really quiet. Ironically, these actions don't wake up the T-Rex, but some random mercenaries closing the door is loud enough to wake it up, and not, you know, Claire riding the T-Rex like a bull and shouting into its ear while penetrating its skin with a needle. After awaking the dino, Claire crawls through the roof and Owen is squashed under the writhing T-Rex. RIP. Also, it's a good thing those nearby guards don't come back and check this very loud disturbance. Maisie, Benjamin's granddaughter, figures out that Eli is going to sell the dinosaurs, and she relays this information to her grandfather, who doesn't want that to happen. She also gets caught and is locked in her room, and there's some minor silly things that happen, but that's not really relevant. Benjamin eventually demands to speak to Eli, confronting him about this betrayal. The baffling thing in this scene is that Benjamin is aware of the fact that Eli betrayed him, and at the same time, asks Eli to call the police for whatever reason, thus turning himself in. However, that's working under the assumption that Eli would do so in good faith, something that shouldn't be assumed given his recent betrayal. What's to stop Eli now from killing or imprisoning you? The reason why this happens is the story flat out ends here if Benjamin calls the police prior to this confrontation, something that's not difficult at all for him to do. The auction would get called off, and these dinosaurs would go to the island shown off in the beginning of the movie. Happily ever after. But we can't have that. The writers want to force the story in a specific direction. So they make Benjamin seem like a stupid dimwit when his utter legacy of being a legendary scientist communicates the complete opposite. Eli, because of this, unsurprisingly kills Benjamin. Claire and Owen, while driving into the compound, get spotted and recognized by one of the guards. Pretty impressive, honestly. Wheatley throws them into a cell, and Eli lectures them about how their hands are also dirty. Like Claire greenlighting the Indominus Rex, and how dare Owen not know the real-world applications of using trained velociraptors? You're so guilty for not realizing that we're going to use them in the context of war. It's not like you do this for scientific research or using them in a practical sense like any other zoo, where you do a show with trained animals. This is a pretty big stretch the writers are trying to execute to make it seem like our protagonists are also flawed. At the end of the scene, Eli insinuates that he doesn't care how Wheatley kills them since there's no proof they got off the island. So why don't they kill them right now, you say? Well, we both know the answer to that question. The buyers arrive, and everyone watching this already knows how stupidly low each dinosaur is sold for, selling around the range of $10 million. These are supposed to be the ultra wealthy, and there's a limited supply of dinosaurs on hand. If rich people love collecting $100 million yachts like a child collects toy cars, then getting a dinosaur would be the biggest status symbol flex of all time. You'd see bidding wars go up into the hundreds of millions. Now, our sense of money has scaled since then. We're almost at trillionaires now. So if Elon Musk was there and there happened to be an infinite supply of dinos, then his entire net worth would equate to 81,170 ankylosauruses, a massive army of dinosaurs. Going back over to Owen and Claire, the Pachycephalosaurus in the adjacent cell awakens from its sedated slumber. Cleverly for once, Owen baits and whistles at the dino to ram into the wall repeatedly until it breaks through, and then he baits it into ramming through the gate. This is a good plan. However, the main issue here is, where are the guards? Why is this place empty? This is going on during the auction, so shouldn't there be guards taking dinosaurs out of their cells and getting them ready for the glamorous runway? Or at the very least, guarding the dinosaurs since these are valuable assets? Or hell, what about security cameras? Whatever. After getting out of the cell, Owen and Claire immediately run into Maisie, and prior to this, we find out that she's actually a clone. They walk through this service hallway where they're able to view the auction and arrive just in time to see the Indoraptor. As I raised before, this monster attacking whatever a laser is pointing at is one of the weirdest writing choices in the franchise. Would it not be way more simple to shoot your target with a gun or send a missile? Painting someone with a laser inherently implies that you can already take them out with said weapon. Adding a dinosaur into the mix is needlessly convoluted and ridiculous. This is borderline so stupid that I assume it's a parody, but the movie always plays it straight and serious, so it just comes across as dumb writing. Owen sends up the Pachycephalosaurus to the auction room via elevator and causes chaos. Every engagement Owen has with the security guards henceforth hits on almost every action trope in the book. He's getting attacked one by one, the guards aren't using their pistols or assault rifles and are running at Owen like brutes, and they spontaneously get knocked out as if they're brittle, malnourished children. Like, one guard is toast after he's thrown over Owen's shoulder, one simply gets pushed over and never gets back up, he trips another with a chair and he should definitely be fine, and one guy got kicked so hard that it knocked him out. This is like the Three Stooges tier of ridiculousness. I wonder if these guys are acting like they're unconscious, and then getting up and leaving when our characters exit the room. At the end of the fight scene, Owen stops the Indoraptor from being sent back down into the basement. A tiny bit of time passes and Wheatley wanders into the auction room looking for Eli. Instead, he finds the Indoraptor, and as set up earlier, Wheatley has a tooth fetish. So of course, he's gotta get some of them Indoraptor teeth. He tranquilizes the dino and it fakes falling asleep. I assume it's just some genetic mumbo-jumbo that allows this, and the Indoraptor promptly escapes. Owen, Claire, and Maisie coincidentally run into Eli, and he reveals here to our characters that Maisie is a clone. With this development, what the hell is the point of going through this massively convoluted scheme of killing people and selling dinosaurs to the black market when you deadass have had access to technology that clones humans? That's way more valuable than having a prehistoric lizard. Rich people would pay gangbusters to clone themselves or bring back loved ones. That's almost another form of immortality in a way. Realistically, Eli would be pursuing this path for money and not whatever the fuck this movie is about. Since that piece of information is revealed and we can't have our characters die here, the Indoraptor suddenly shows up and kills the two goons, and thankfully no one of note or even staying here and killing everyone. From here, we cut over to Henry Wu packing up everything, and while he's talking to Zia, Justin was able to infiltrate the scientists and incapacitates Henry. Earlier while on the boat, he was adopted by the Logan crew, so I have no idea how he was able to get here. Bro's been playing Hitman off screen or something while he's just a computer nerd and not a CIA special agent. Some guards discovered this scene and Zia unleashes Blue. Holy shit, that may just be the most incompetent buffoon I've ever seen. All he had to do was shoot the velociraptor that's not moving and refrain from running at it like an NPC. Given this guy's legendary performance, he happened to of course not shoot Blue, but a container with flammable gas, somehow increasing his level of incompetence. So, boom. There's also vague toxic fumes leaking out of these cylinders, which I think is only here to create time pressure in the story. After that jarring display of wonderful logic, we cut back to the horror movie that Owen, Claire, and Maisie are in, where they have to stealth through the mansion while an Indoraptor is on the loose. When in the center of the room, the Indoraptor is on top of a dino skeleton display and spots our characters. In this moment, it can easily pounce down and kill them, and somehow, this finely optimized apex predator that will be deployed in war zones completely misses its target. Even the editor is helping the characters escape because there's a glaring continuity error where in the next shot, they teleport to the staircase. If this movie had any basis in logic, then at least one character would die here. The Indoraptor then struggles to get up the staircase, and after breaking line of sight for 1 second, our characters vanish like Batman. The Indoraptor is so taken aback that he has to genuinely rely on his sense of smell to track them. So off-screen it seems like Maisie brought them through a secret passage that brings them down a level and puts them behind the museum displays. While in here, Owen turns off the lights, which should honestly be worse for them because now they can't see, while this perfect specimen dinosaur most definitely can. In this context, if you now don't know where the Indoraptor is and you're flying blind, shouldn't you just hide and wait for it to leave? They're in a pretty safe position and can easily wait it out, and they also hear it walking around. However, that's boring, so the writers force the characters to act irrationally for the scene to be more entertaining. While walking through the displays, Justin is trying to contain the leaking gas downstairs and has to reboot the system. This turns the lights back on, and I'm not sure how this is possible since Owen physically turned off the breaker. But zapping that piece of information out of my brain like the good little viewer I am, this now allows the Indoraptor to discover our characters and kill them once again. I guess it genuinely couldn't see in the dark. While pouncing in, the Indoraptor gets stuck in a bunch of debris, and Maisie runs for the hills. Instead of finishing off Owen and Claire, who are basically screwed, the dino opts to chase after Maisie. Like true Jurassic World fashion, the dinosaur fumbles around and is bested by a child. Whoever paid $43 million for this thing got fucking scammed. Maisie eventually gets back to her room, and the Indoraptor goes to the roof to Ara Farm. After doing that, it descends down into Maisie's room, and this is a very tense and spooky scene, but it comes after an entire scene that invalidates this monster's scare factor. It's basically reduced down to a walking clown at this point, so there's no meaningful tension to be had because we know Maisie is in no danger whatsoever. Unsurprisingly, while the Indoraptor is scaring Maisie, Owen comes in to save her. Keep in mind, he should have no idea where they ran off to in this massive sprawling mansion, and he'd realistically get lost for a half hour until stumbling into this gruesome scene of Maisie's death. But since Owen is the leading man, he's contractually obligated to save the day. Oh no, bullets, my only weakness. Oh, what's that? Your gun only has 3 bullets in it? Skill issue. Since Owen didn't check his magazine and is properly screwed, that means we need a good old Deus Ex Machina to save the day. And if you don't remember what happens right now, you probably have no idea who saves Owen, and it happens to be Blue, who was down in the laboratory, and I think you need to take an elevator to get out of there. Absolutely no idea how Blue got up here in the mansion, and he quite literally teleported in to save Owen. So Blue and the Indoraptor fight, and somehow the Indoraptor doesn't immediately steamroll Blue. It's supposed to be better in every way genetically, is bred specifically to kill, and is way bigger than Blue. With those advantages, Blue is obviously going to be fine because he has the genetic advantage of plot armor. During their catfight, Owen and Maisie walk out across the glass ceiling over the museum room and are stuck at the other end. How do they get out of this? Well, thankfully, Claire uses the teleportation device that Blue used and spawns in on the roof. Keep in mind that her leg was impaled, so it should be impossible for her to scale the roof and get into this position. Claire also has the laser targeting gun that Owen had prior, and she points the laser at Owen to bait the Indoraptor into breaking the glass. It doesn't work fully, so Blue comes in and suplexes the Indoraptor through the ceiling, and luckily it gets impaled on one of the dino's skeletons. Good thing Blue didn't land on the bottom side, and it'd be kind of awkward if they did all of that just to kill the wrong dinosaur. After this, they still have the point of conflict to resolve in the basement of either letting the dinosaurs loose or allowing them to perish in the toxic gas. Claire opts to not let them go, but Maisie hits the button, delivering the wildest justification saying, "They're alive, like me."
What?
So she's sympathizing with the dinosaurs because they've been cloned just like her. Basically, her reasoning is, they just like me for real. Now, this is an interesting point to take the story, but it's completely undercut by this jarringly dumb line of dialogue. Good job, Colin Trevorrow. Owen and Claire are like, a lot of people are going to die because of that? This is essentially the end of the movie, and a couple stray loose ends are Eli getting trampled by the released dinosaurs, and Blue going out into the world to live his own life. Despite rewatching the Jurassic Park and World movies multiple times, I've surprisingly never seen Dominion. So I'm honestly terrified to see how bad that movie gets, and I'll try to release that Devoid of Logic video a bit faster. Thanks for watching till the end, and I have more Devoid of Logic videos and other video essays on the channel if you want more things to watch. My Letterboxd, Discord, and Patreon links are in the description, and have a great day. Thanks to my outstanding top patron, Logan Farmer.